What if I told you there is a medicine so powerful that no industry can patent it? A cure so ancient that empires have tried to erase it from history? A secret so simple that it has been hidden in plain sight, in the silence between your meals. That medicine is fasting. Not the fad diet you know, not the restriction they sell you as a punishment, but the sacred fast, the oldest, most potent, and most forbidden healing technology of humankind. This audiobook is the key to a forgotten pharmacy, the one residing in your own body. You will discover that through conscious abstinence, you possess the innate ability to activate self-healing. Processes so profound that modern science is only beginning to comprehend them. You will learn to instruct your cells to devour their own damaged parts in a process of divine recycling. You will learn to stimulate the growth of new neurons, to reset your immune system, and to silence the inflammation that is the root of almost all chronic diseases. We will journey through time, from the secrets of Hippocrates and Ayurvedic doctors to the laboratories of Nobel Prize-winning scientists, to reveal a golden thread of knowledge that unites the mystic with the biologist. The knowledge of the pharaohs, the prophets, and the geniuses of science is about to be revealed to you. Chapter 1. The Vow of the Void, the Wisdom of Hippocrates. Our journey begins nearly 2,500 years ago on the sun-drenched coasts of the island of Kos in ancient Greece. It begins with a man whose name is synonymous with medicine itself. Hippocrates. We have been taught to remember him for his oath and his famous maxim, "Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food." We have built our entire science of nutrition on this idea, on the belief that the key to health lies in what we put into our body. But what if I told you that Hippocrates' deepest and most powerful discovery was not this? And what if I revealed that his greatest secret was precisely the opposite, a truth so radical and so simple that it was deliberately omitted from official texts, considered too dangerous for the medical establishment of any era? In the lost fragments of his work, in the whispers of his closest disciples lies the true key to his genius, the revelation that sometimes the most potent medicine is not what is ingested, but what is omitted. We must unearth the vow of the void, the revelation in Kos, the impossible case. The story, reconstructed from fragmented texts, begins in 420 BC. A wealthy man, a noble merchant, is brought before Hippocrates. His body is swollen like a wineskin, his abdomen distended by a fluid that no remedy has been able to drain. His skin has a yellowish tint. He can barely breathe. The most famous doctors in Athens have given up on him, declaring his condition a death sentence. His desperate family has spent a fortune on potions, ointments, and rituals with no results. Hippocrates examines him in silence. He feels his pulse, observes his eyes, listens to his labored breathing, and then, to the horror of the relatives and the scandal of his colleagues, he prescribes the most radical of treatments: nothing. He forbids him all food. He forbids him all medicinal herbs. He even forbids the wine. His only prescription is simple and absolute. For 7 full days the man will only drink pure water, taken at dawn. Panic breaks out. "You are starving him to death," his relatives shout. "It's madness, an act of barbarity," say other doctors accuse. But Hippocrates, with the calm of one who trusts in a higher law, remains firm. The days pass. The man, initially weak, seems to enter a state of deep stillness. He sleeps most of the time. On the 2nd day, the swelling seems to decrease slightly. On the 4th day, his breathing is less labored. On the 6th day, the yellowish tint of his skin begins to clear. And at the dawn of the 7th day, what everyone considered impossible happens. The fluid has completely disappeared. The swelling has subsided. The man, though thin and weak, is alive, his eyes clear for the first time in months. Hippocrates had done nothing, and in that non-doing, he had allowed the greatest of miracles to occur. He had just witnessed, 2,400 years before modern science gave it a name, the power of autophagy. The man's body, being freed from the constant task of digestion, had redirected all its energy to a much more urgent task, that of cleansing itself. It had begun to devour its own damaged cells, drain toxic fluids, and repair its liver. It had activated its own inner pharmacy. That night, Hippocrates had a revelation that would change his practice forever. It was not he who cured the man. It was the body's own innate intelligence. He, as a doctor, had simply removed the obstacles. He had created the void necessary for nature to do its work. He observed the animals. A wounded dog does not seek food. It retreats to a quiet corner and fasts. A sick cat loses its appetite and rests in stillness. Nature, his greatest teacher, was showing him the secret. The energy required for digestion is immense. When that energy is freed, the body can use it for the miracle of self-healing. The hidden legacy from that day on. Hippocrates began recording the effects of fasting in his private notes. He observed patients with the sacred disease, epilepsy, and saw how the frequency and intensity of their seizures drastically decreased during periods of abstinence. He saw how inexplicable fevers that consumed his patients often broke, not with herbs but with 1 or 2 days of fasting. He documented how infected wounds that were, festering and refusing to close, began to heal at an astonishing speed when the patient stopped eating. But why was this powerful knowledge relegated to his private notes? Because Hippocrates understood something fundamental, declaring that the body could heal itself, that the most potent medicine was free and accessible to all, was a direct threat to the power and status of the medical class. It was taking power away from the doctor and giving it back to the patient. It was knowledge too revolutionary, too simple, too dangerous. That is why his public teaching was, "Let food be thy medicine," an important truth, but incomplete. The complete truth, the secret oath, was that the void is the supreme medicine. The dawn fast, Hippocrates' protocol. We have seen how Hippocrates discovered that the absence of food is often the most potent catalyst for healing. But his genius did not reside only in observation, but in application. He was not content with discovering the what. He developed the how. A protocol of astonishing simplicity and elegance emerges from his private notes, a method that does not require exotic herbs or complicated rituals. He called it the dawn fast. The technique, reconstructed from his fragments, is simple. The awakening. Upon waking, before the sun touches the horizon, you ingest no solid food. The purification. You drink only pure water. His notes emphasize the importance of the water being live, spring water, if possible, not stagnant. The abstinence. You maintain this abstinence from all solid food until the sun reaches its highest point in the sky. Tone the break. You break the fast gently, with natural, easily digestible foods, fruits, olives, whole grain bread with honey. This simple protocol, practiced regularly, was the basis of his preventive medicine. But what Hippocrates observed in his patients and in himself went far beyond simple physical health. He documented 3 consistent transformations. The first transformation, crystalline clarity of mind. His patients, after a few days of practicing the dawn fast, reported without exception a mental clarity they had not experienced in years. The brain fog dissipated. Decision-making became sharper, more intuitive. Memory improved. Hippocrates had discovered unknowingly fasting-induced neurogenesis. Modern science now understands the mechanism. Fasting activates the production of a miraculous protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. BDNF is like a fertilizer for the brain. It stimulates the growth of new neurons, strengthens existing synapses, and protects the brain from age-related deterioration. Hippocrates did not need a brain scan. He observed the result, a mind that became as clear as the water of his springs. The second transformation, the awakening of inner fire. Patients reported a new form of energy, not the nervous, ephemeral energy of a stimulant, but a stable, serene, sustained energy that lasted all day. Hippocrates called it the awakening of inner fire. He had discovered metabolic flexibility. By giving the body a 16 to 18-hour window without food, he was retraining it to remember how to access its vastest and cleanest energy source, its own fat reserves. He was turning his patients from inefficient sugar burners into efficient fat burners. The third transformation, the connection with the inner oracle. But Hippocrates' deepest observation, the one that convinced him to keep this knowledge secret, was the spiritual one. He realized that the dawn fast did not only heal the body and clarify the mind, it opened a channel. In the silence of the stomach, the soul began to speak. His patients reported sharper intuition, greater creativity, and a deep sense of connection to a wisdom that seemed to flow from within them. By emptying the body, the spirit was being filled, the legacy of the father of medicine, the secret legacy of Hippocrates, hidden for 2,500 years, and now validated by 21st century science, can be summarized in a revelation that inverts our understanding of health. The maxim, "Let food be thy medicine," is only half the equation. The other half, the most powerful, is, "Let your abstinence be your deepest healing." The vow of the void remains. In the silence of the stomach, the body's wisdom awakens. In conscious abstinence, the internal pharmacy that was always there waiting to be activated is revealed. Hippocrates' secret now emerges when we need it most, to remind us that the medicine of the future is, in reality, the oldest in the world. Chapter 2. The Alchemical Fire, the Wisdom of Ayurveda. Now our journey takes us further east to a land of even more ancient wisdom. We delve into the sacred valleys of India, at the foot of the Himalayas, where more than 5,000 years ago, the great sage-seers, the Rishis, developed the science of life, Ayurveda. If Hippocrates taught us that the void is medicine, the Rishis taught us that fasting is not a simple act of emptying, but the art of stoking a fire, an inner fire so powerful that it has the capacity not only to digest food, but to burn away disease, to transmute toxicity, and to convert the very experience into pure energy. We must now learn to be the guardians of this flame. We must light the alchemical fire. In Western medicine, we see digestion as a purely mechanical and chemical process. But for Ayurveda, digestion is a sacred act governed by a divine intelligence. And the heart of that intelligence is Agni, the digestive fire. Agni is not simply stomach acid. It is the universal metabolic force. It is the spark of the sun that resides within you. It is the principle of transformation. It is the fire that converts matter into energy, experience into consciousness. A strong, balanced Agni is the root of all health. It gives you radiant energy, a clear mind, a robust immune system, and a joy for living. A weak or unbalanced Agni is the root of all disease. When your inner fire does not burn with enough strength, food and experiences are not fully digested. This undigested residue, called ama, becomes a toxic, sticky substance that accumulates in your tissues, obstructs your body's channels, and becomes the breeding ground for disease. Disease, from the Ayurvedic perspective, is not an external attack. It is the result of an inner fire that has weakened or gone out of control. The revelation of Karaka, the fire that heals more than 3,000 years ago, in the sacred valleys where the Rishis meditated until their breath turned into wisdom. A legendary physician named Charaka made an observation that would become one of the pillars of Ayurveda. He had noticed that when people fasted following specific protocols, they not only lost weight or relieved digestive symptoms. Something much more extraordinary happened. Chronic diseases that had resisted all known treatments, from skin conditions to joint pain and melancholic disorders, simply disappeared. His revolutionary conclusion, recorded in the Sanskrit texts of the Karaka Samhita, was this: within the human being resides a metabolic fire so powerful that, when freed from the constant task of digesting, it can redirect all its energy to burn away accumulated ama, to repair damaged tissues, and to restore perfect health in ways that seem miraculous. And here is the astonishing part. Modern science, with its cutting-edge tools, has confirmed word for word the wisdom of the Ayurvedic texts. What they called Agni, we know as metabolism and mitochondrial health. Their concept of burning ama, the accumulated toxicity, is what we now call autophagy, the Nobel Prize-winning process of cellular recycling. Their idea of internal purification exactly corresponds to cellular regeneration and the reduction of inflammation that scientists measure in longevity labs around the world. The Rishis did not need microscopes. They observed the effects, and their wisdom, distilled over millennia of observation, bequeathed us a knowledge of astonishing sophistication about the nature of this inner fire. The three fires. Diagnosing your inner flame, Ayurveda, teaches us that not all fires are equal. There are three major states of Agni, and your complete health depends on which one predominates in your system. Identifying your type of fire is the first step to learning how to balance it. The ultimate goal is to restore the fourth type of fire, the state of perfect health, Sama Agni, the balanced fire, which burns clean, constant, and powerful, digesting everything it is offered effortlessly. Vishama Agni, the irregular fire. Imagine a fire being fed green, damp wood on a windy day. It sometimes burns strongly, sometimes nearly goes out, and often produces a lot of smoke. This is the irregular Agni, commonly associated with the Vata dosha, air and ether energy. Symptoms: your hunger is unpredictable. Your digestion is irregular, with gas, bloating, and alternating constipation and diarrhea. You experience energy fluctuations, and your mind is often anxious and scattered. The cause: an irregular lifestyle, eating at odd hours, excess stress, and internal dryness. Tikshna Agni, the sharp or intense fire. Imagine a forest fire. It burns with a fierce intensity, consuming everything in its path too quickly, often destructively. This is the sharp Agni, commonly associated with the Pitta dosha, fire and water energy. Symptoms: you have intense, constant hunger and become irritable if you skip a meal, hangry. Your digestion is fast, often accompanied by heartburn, reflux, and inflammation. The cause: excessively spicy, sour, or greasy foods, extreme competitiveness, perfectionism, and repressed anger. Manda Agni, the slow or weak fire. Imagine a pile of embers covered in ash. There is heat, but the flame is weak, unable to consume the wood efficiently. This is the slow Agni, commonly associated with the Kapha dosha, earth and water energy. Symptoms: you have low appetite, especially in the morning. Your digestion is slow and heavy. You feel food sitting in your stomach for hours. You are prone to weight gain, fluid retention, and congestion. The cause: excess cold, heavy and sweet foods, lack of exercise, and resistance to change. The first practice: preparing the fire. Before any fast, the Ayurvedic alchemist prepares the ground. He knows that a fire cannot be suddenly stoked. First, the wood is prepared. For 1 to 3 days before a deeper fast, you begin to gently stoke your Agni. Eliminate fire-dousing foods, cold, heavy, processed, and sugary foods are removed. Increase fire-stoking foods. Fresh ginger, black pepper, cinnamon, and cumin are increased. Simplify your diet. Hot soups, well-cooked vegetables, and basmati rice are consumed. This act of preparation informs your body that it is getting ready for a deeper cleansing work. The second practice: fasting, according to your fire. Now, you apply the fasting protocol specific to your Agni type. For Vishama Agni, the irregular fire, the rhythm fast. Your goal is to create regularity and stability. Your tool is intermittent fasting with fixed times. You practice a 16.8 protocol, e.g. stopping eating at 6 p.m. and not eating again until 10 a.m. You are training your wildfire to burn with discipline. During your fasting window, you can drink calming herbal teas like chamomile or ginger to keep the system warm and stable. For Tikshna Agni, the intense fire, the cooling fast, your goal is to calm the excess fire, not extinguish it. Your tool is a gentler intermittent fast, combined with cooling foods and practices. A 14-10 protocol is ideal. And crucially, your main meal should be at noon, when the solar Agni is at its peak. When breaking the fast, you use cooling foods like cucumber, cilantro, and fennel, and avoid spicy foods, alcohol, and fried items. You are calming the fire and transforming its destructive energy into focused power. For Manda Agni, the slow fire, the stimulating fast, your goal is to gently stoke the embers. A fast that is too long could extinguish your fire completely. Your tool is a 12 to 14-hour fast, combined with stimulating practices. During your fasting window, you drink warm water with ginger and lemon to awaken the system. And your first meal of the day is always light, hot, and spiced, such as a lentil soup with ginger and cumin. You avoid cold, heavy breakfasts like the plague. The third practice: the art of breaking the fast. The most crucial moment of the ritual, according to Ayurvedic texts, is how you return to feeding the fire. How you break your fast determines 70% of its benefit. Start gently. Never break a fast with a heavy meal. It would be like throwing a heavy, damp log onto a small flame. You would extinguish it. You start with something light, hot, and easy to digest. a vegetable soup, a cooked fruit, a little rice. Golden milk. The tradition often recommends breaking longer fasts with what we now know as golden milk, warm milk, or a plant-based alternative, gently boiled with a pinch of turmeric and ginger. Turmeric is one of nature's most potent anti-inflammatories, and ginger gently rekindles the agni. But the deepest teaching of Ayurveda about this fire goes beyond the body. The rishis taught that when your agni works perfectly, you don't just digest food. You digest life. You digest experiences, emotions, and thoughts. Everything is transformed into pure energy, into wisdom instead of accumulating as emotional toxins. A strong agni gives you the power to process grief, to transmute anger, to digest failure, and turn it into a nutrient for your growth. Chapter 3. The Dragon's Breath, the Wisdom of Taoism. Our journey now takes us even deeper, to a knowledge that transcends the simple manifestation of our realities and aims at the transformation of the very vehicle we inhabit. We enter the misty peaks of the sacred mountains of China, places like Wudang and Huashan, where ancient Taoist masters sought not just health, but immortality. They discovered that fasting, a practice known by all traditions for the purification of the body, was much more. It was not just a cleansing tool, it was a portal, an alchemical training to awaken a latent capacity in the human being, the ability to stop relying exclusively on the dense foods of the earth and learn to nourish oneself directly from the pure energy of the cosmos. We must explore their deepest secret, one of their most closely guarded teachings. We must learn to ride the dragon's breath. The secret of the immortals, the Bigu principle, in the secret archives of monasteries where the clouds hug millennial peaks. There are preserved scrolls that document what is impossible to the modern Western mind, a biological heresy. These are the records of masters and mistresses who spent months, years, sometimes decades, without consuming solid food, nourishing themselves solely on what they called the celestial dragon's breath, the dew of the stars, or simply qi. And they did not just survive in a state of starvation. They radiated astonishing vitality, a mental clarity bordering on omniscience, and a longevity that defied all medical comprehension. It was said that their bodies became light as a feather, capable of extraordinary physical feats. This practice is known as Bigu, often superficially translated as abstinence from grains, but its meaning is much deeper. Bigu is not simply not eating. It is learning to eat something different. It is the alchemical process of retraining the body at a cellular level to stop being a machine that burns dense matter and become a vortex that absorbs and metabolizes qi, or kai, the universal vital energy that permeates all existence. Sai-si-fai, the science of eating light. From matter to energy, to understand Bigu, we must abandon our view of the body as a simple biological machine that needs material fuel and begin to see it as a sophisticated energy converter. Solid. Food is the densest, most impure, and least efficient form of energy. It requires immense digestive work, what Ayurveda calls agni, or digestive fire, to break down matter and extract its energetic essence, generating a large amount of residue or toxins in the process. Air, water, sunlight, and the energy of the earth itself are much more subtle, pure, and directly assimilable forms of qi. The practice of Bigu is a gradual and disciplined journey for the body to remember its ancestral capacity to nourish itself from these finer sources. The 4th century Taoist alchemist Ge Hong, in his writings, documented his observations of Bigu practitioners. His revolutionary conclusion was this: the human body possesses the dormant ability to nourish itself directly from the energy surrounding us, but this capacity only awakens when we completely free the digestive system from the constant and exhausting task of processing dense matter. The energy normally spent on digestion, which can be up to 70% of our daily energy, is then redirected to healing, regeneration, and finally, to the activation of these latent faculties. Modern science, although still far from accepting the deepest implications of Bigu, is beginning to find echoes of this wisdom in its own discoveries. What the Taoists called absorbing celestial qi through breathing corresponds to what we now understand as an extreme optimization of cellular, respiration, and a massive production of ketone bodies, a super fuel for the brain and body generated during fasting. What they described as nourishing oneself from the wind and dew and the regeneration of the body is reflected in the processes of autophagy, the cellular cleansing and recycling activated during fasting, and accelerated mitochondrial regeneration, where the powerhouses of our cells become incredibly efficient. Notice the 3 levels of Bigu. The Dragon's Journey secret text reveal that Big is not an on-off switch. It is a progressive path, a journey through 3 great portals, each requiring greater preparation and mastery. Initial Bigu, the purification of the terrestrial dragon. This is the first level, often practiced in retreats lasting 7 to 21 days. It consists of the total elimination of the 5 grains, rice, wheat, millet, etc., and often all cooked food, meat, and processed foods. The diet is based on living, light-filled foods, fruits, raw vegetables, nuts, and sprouted seeds. The purpose of this phase is to cleanse what the texts call the mud of the stomach and intestines, the heavy toxins and mucus accumulated from a diet of dense foods. It lightens the load on the digestive system, purifies the blood, and prepares the body for much greater energetic sensitivity. 2 Middle Bigu, the awakening of the celestial dragon. This is the level of liquid fasting which can last in trained practitioners weeks or even months. The diet consists solely of pure, energetically charged liquids, spring water, specific herbal teas, vegetable or bone broths. In this phase, the body, completely freed from solid digestion, enters a state of deep autophagy. It begins to remember its more ethereal nature. Cellular regeneration accelerates drastically, and consciousness begins to experience sustained states of clarity, expanded perception, and deep spiritual connection. 3. Supreme Bigu, the union with the cosmic dragon. This is the level of the great masters, often maintained for years. Abstinence from all food and at the highest levels, sometimes even water for prolonged periods. The body has been completely retrained. It has learned to nourish itself exclusively from the air, qi, the light, shen, and the focused intention of consciousness. This is the state that, according to the texts, leads to immortality, which can be interpreted not only as extreme physical longevity, but as the transcendence of dependence on the physical body, total freedom. As to the first practice, the 7-day preparation, the awakening of the terrestrial dragon. To learn to eat light, you must first teach your body to crave it. This practice is a gentle introduction, a way to prepare the ground. The respiratory ritual. For 7 consecutive days every morning before the first ray of sun, sit in silence facing east. Perform the 49-cycle breath. Sit with your back straight, close your eyes. Inhale deeply through your nose for 7 seconds, visualizing a pure golden light of dawn entering through your crown and filling your entire body. Hold your breath for 7 seconds, while imagining that light concentrating in your abdomen and filling every cell, awakening its intelligence. 4. Exhale slowly through your mouth for 7 seconds, expelling all cloudy energy, all weariness, all accumulated darkness. Repeat this cycle 49 times, 7 sets of 7, the diet of the heavens. During these 7 days, your diet aligns with the sky. You eat only foods that grow upward toward the sun, fruits from trees, green shoots, leaves that seek the light. You avoid roots, carrots, potatoes, and everything that grows in the darkness of the earth. You also avoid meat, processed foods, and grains. You are teaching your body, on a symbolic and energetic level, to seek its nutrition in the light and the ethereal. The mental preparation. Every night during these 7 days, write in your journal any fear or attachment you have related to food. Then write the affirmation, "My body is an intelligent energy system. I trust its wisdom to nourish itself from the purest sources." The second practice, the Qi fast, the dragon's first flight. With the body purified and the mind prepared, you can begin the true Bigu at an introductory and safe level. It is not a fast of not eating. It is a fast of eating differently. It is recommended to start with a single day. The celestial dragon's breath. At dawn, instead of having breakfast, perform the dragon's breath. Stand barefoot on the ground, if possible, with your arms slightly raised to your sides like the branches of a tree. 1. Inhale slowly through your nose, imagining you are drawing in the golden, nourishing essence of the sun and pure air through your crown. Feel this energy descend through the center of your body to your dantian, the energy center about 3 fingers below your navel. 2. Hold your breath gently, while visualizing that golden light transforming into a liquid, warm nutrition that expands from your dantian, filling your stomach and organs. Exhale through your mouth, expelling any sensation of physical weakness or hunger. Repeat for 10-15 minutes. Eating light. At noon, when the yang energy of the sun is at its highest, practice eating the light. Sit in a comfortable posture with your eyes closed and turn toward the sun. Feel, do not just imagine, how its rays penetrate your skin, your closed eyes, and become food, pure energy that accumulates in your stomach and dantian. Drinking with intention. Throughout the day, drink pure water or herbal teas, but do not do it mechanically. With each sip, hold the water in your mouth and charge it with the intention. This water is pure nutrition. This water is vital energy. The ancient texts document that, during the correct practice of bigu, something deeper than mere survival occurs. The cells, freed from digestion, seem to remember and reactivate their ability to extract energy directly from the quantum field around us. It is a return to our original energetic nature. Chapter 4. The Fast of the Spirit, the Wisdom of the Prophets. At the heart of the Judeo-Christian traditions, there is an inescapable pattern, a golden thread that connects all the great moments of divine revelation. Before every transformative encounter, before every miracle, before every delivery of a new law, there is a period of retreat, solitude, and prolonged, deep fasting. The prophets did not fast for penance as a self-imposed punishment. They fasted because they had discovered a spiritual technology. They knew that to receive a transmission of a higher frequency, they first had to purify and tune their own receiver. And fasting was the fastest and most potent way to do it. Moses on Sinai. The story tells us that to receive the tablets of the law, Moses ascended Mount Sinai and fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. This was not an act of simple endurance. It was a process of transfiguration. Ancient texts reveal that upon descending, his face radiated a light so intense that he had to cover it with a veil. He was not just illuminated in a metaphorical sense. His very biology had changed. He had become a conductor of a higher frequency energy, Elijah in the desert. The prophet Elijah, fleeing and seeking a new direction, traveled for 40 days and 40 nights through the desert, sustained only by divine inspiration. And at the end of that journey, in the stillness of a cave, he did not hear God in the wind, nor in the earthquake, nor in the fire, but in a gentle whisper. His fasting had tuned his inner ear to the point of being able to perceive the most subtle frequency of all. Jesus and the temptation, and, of course, the most powerful archetype of all. Before beginning his public ministry, before performing a single miracle, Jesus withdrew to the desert to fast for 40 days. The popular story focuses on the temptations, but the esoteric knowledge reveals a deeper truth. The fast was not the test. It was the preparation. It was the alchemical process that transformed Jesus, the man, into the Christ, the pure channel for divine power. Apocryphal texts suggest that it was during this period that he activated the capabilities the world would call miracles. The number 40 is not arbitrary. It represents a complete cycle of death and rebirth. It is the time necessary for the body to be completely purified and for consciousness to be freed from its earthly ties and open to the dimensions of the spirit. The physics of revelation. The fasting brain, what actually happens in the body and brain during such a prolonged fast? Is this simple mythology? Or are we talking about a precise spiritual science? Modern neuroscience, unknowingly, is beginning to validate step by step the experiences of the ancient prophets. The ketogenic brain, crystalline clarity. After 2 or 3 days without food, the body depletes its glycogen reserves and begins to produce ketones from stored fat. The brain switches its fuel source from glucose to ketones. And ketones are a superfuel. They produce more energy with less metabolic waste. The result is the crystalline clarity the text spoke of. The mental fog dissipates. Concentration becomes laser-focused. The noise of compulsive thoughts decreases. The brain for the first time operates in a state of silence and optimal efficiency. The rewiring of the brain, the open mind. Fasting, as we have seen, causes a massive increase in the protein BDNF, the brain fertilizer. This triggers neurogenesis, the birth of new neurons, and neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections. A fasting brain is an incredibly plastic brain, open to new ideas, new perceptions, and new realities. It is a brain that can, literally, change its mind on a structural level, freeing itself from old patterns of conditioned thought, the pineal gland and the spirit molecule, and here we come to the deepest territory. Mystics of all traditions have spoken of the third eye, the gateway to spiritual dimensions. And they have located this door at the center of the brain, in the pineal gland. Modern science has discovered that the pineal gland, sensitive to light and a producer of melatonin, also has the capacity to produce endogenous DMT, dimethyltryptamine, one of the most potent psychedelic compounds known, often called the spirit molecule. Prolonged fasting creates the perfect biochemical conditions for the activation of the pineal gland. The increase in serotonin, the precursor to DMT, the reduction of metabolic static, and the state of expanded consciousness seem to facilitate the release of this molecule. This phenomenon could be the scientific explanation behind Daniel's visions, Moses's shining face, and Jesus's divine encounters. They were not hallucinations. They were the perception of more subtle realities, made possible by a deliberate change in their own neurochemistry. We have seen that the great prophets did not fast merely for penance, but because they had discovered a spiritual technology, a way to alter their own biochemistry, to open a direct channel to divine intelligence. But is this power reserved only for the great avatars who retreat to the desert for 40 days? Or is it a latent capacity in all of us, waiting to be activated? The prophet Daniel bequeathed us a more accessible, yet equally powerful model, a protocol that does not require total abstinence, but conscious purification. The fast of the vision. This protocol, adapted to our time, is a 21-day journey, 3 weeks, a complete cycle of 7, to purify the body, clarify the mind, and open the spirit. The protocol of Daniel's fast, the practice. The what? An abstinence from delicacies. This is not a water fast. It is an abstinence from delicacies. For 21 days, you eliminate from your diet everything that overloads and clouds the system. You eliminate all meat and animal products. You eliminate all processed foods, refined sugars and white flours. You eliminate all stimulants like alcohol and caffeine. Your diet is based on what the earth gives directly: fruits, vegetables, legumes, whole grains, nuts, seeds, and, above all, pure water. It is not about counting calories, but about eating cleanly and simply. The 3 phases of the fast of the vision, this 21-day journey unfolds in 3 distinct phases, reflecting the same pattern the great prophets followed. Week 1, days 1-7, the physical purification. The first week is often the most challenging. Your body, accustomed to a diet of stimulants and processed foods, begins to detoxify. You may experience headaches, fatigue, irritability. You are not getting sick. You are healing. You are cleansing the chains of the flesh. It is crucial to drink plenty of water and rest. In this phase, you are purging the physical toxins that block your energetic sensitivity. Week 2, days 8-14. The mental clarification. In the second week, as your body adapts, a miracle occurs. The mental fog dissipates. Your brain, now running on cleaner fuel and without the bombardment of toxins, achieves crystalline clarity. Ideas flow. Concentration becomes laser-focused. Memory improves. You feel lighter, not just in your body, but in your mind. You are in the mental elevation phase. It is the perfect time for meditation, study, and introspection. Week 3, days 15-21, the spiritual opening. In the final week, with the body purified and the mind clear, your channel opens completely. Your sensitivity to subtle frequencies is magnified. Intuition becomes deafening. The whispers turn into clear conversations. Synchronicities multiply, as if the universe were conspiring to show you the way. You receive visions, not necessarily literal images, but profound insights, sudden understandings, an inner certainty about your purpose and your next step. You're in the state of direct connection, the breaking of the fast at the end of the 21 days. Do not rush back to your old habits. Reintroduce food slowly with awareness, listening to your body. You have purified your temple. Now choose wisely what you allow to enter it. The fast of the spirit has been revealed to you. It is no longer an ancient legend, but an accessible technology. You have learned that the void is not an absence, but the portal to a deeper presence. You don't need to be a prophet to receive a revelation. You just need the courage to create the inner silence so that you can at last hear the voice that has always been speaking to you. Chapter 5. The Recycling Workshop, The Secret of Autophagy. Our journey takes us from the sacred mountain to the silent laboratory, from the language of the spirit to that of science. Because in recent decades, modern biology, without intending to, has rediscovered and validated with astonishing precision the secret that the mystics always knew. We must explore the cellular mechanism that hides behind the miracles. We must open the doors of the inner recycling workshop. We must unveil the secret of autophagy. For decades, science viewed our cells as small machines that, over time, inevitably accumulated waste, wore out, and died. Aging and disease were seen as an inevitable process of deterioration. But in a quiet laboratory in Tokyo in the 80s and 90s, a Japanese biologist named Yoshinori Osumi became obsessed with a mystery. Observing yeast under his microscope, he saw how in moments of nutrient scarcity, the cells seemed to eat parts of themselves. His colleagues considered this process a form of cellular suicide, an act of desperation. But Osumi intuitively sensed something deeper. With infinite patience, he dedicated years to deciphering this mechanism, and what he discovered was so revolutionary that it earned him the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 2016. He discovered that this process, which he named autophagy, literally self-eating, was not an act of self-destruction. It was the most intelligent and sophisticated act of self-renewal in nature. The cells were not dying. They were reborning from within. They were dismantling their own old damaged and toxic parts and using the materials to build new, clean and functional components. It was like discovering that your house had a secret demolition and construction crew that, while you slept, came in, identified the broken furniture and cracked walls, dismantled them, and used the same materials to build new furniture and solid walls. The recycling workshop in action, autophagy, is your body's quality control, cleaning and recycling system, and it works with a precision that defies imagination. Identification. The cells tag the components that are no longer working correctly, misfolded proteins that could cause diseases like Alzheimer's, old mitochondria that produce more free radicals than energy, damaged organelles, capture. A special membrane, like a smart garbage bag, wraps these waste products, breakdown and recycling. This bag fuses with the lysosomes, the cell's stomachs, which contain enzymes that break down the waste into its basic components: amino acids, fatty acids, reconstruction. And these basic components are then reused by the cell to build new proteins, new mitochondria and new structures. Autophagy doesn't just clean the trash, it turns trash into treasure. Disease as a closed workshop. Osumi's discoveries revealed that autophagy is fundamental for health and longevity. When this process weakens, something that occurs naturally with age and, above all, with a lifestyle of constant food abundance, cellular trash accumulates. The accumulation of misfolded proteins in the brain is directly related to the development of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Mitochondrial dysfunction is at the heart of aging. Chronic fatigue and cancer. The inability to eliminate invasive pathogens weakens the immune system. Many of the diseases we associate with aging are nothing more than the symptoms of a recycling workshop that has been shut down from lack of use. And here comes the most important revelation. What is the key that opens this secret workshop? Scarcity. When your body is in a state of constant abundance, eating every few hours, the The cells have no incentive to recycle. Why should they recycle old parts if they have a constant supply of new materials arriving from the outside? But when you enter a state of fasting, when external nutrients stop arriving, an ancient, powerful survival program is activated. The cells to survive must obtain energy and building materials from within themselves, and they activate with massive intensity the process of autophagy. Fasting is not a state of lack. It is the signal that tells your trillions of cells it's time to clean house. The cellular alchemist's workshop, the autophagy protocols. We have understood the science. We know that autophagy is our system of cellular renewal and that fasting is its main activator. But how do you activate this process safely and effectively? What protocols can we use to light the purifying fire of autophagy in our own bodies? The initiate in sacred fasting does not jump into extreme abstinence abruptly. He becomes a cellular alchemist who applies the correct dose of the void for the desired result. The first protocol, the daily cleansing. The 16-8 intermittent fast. The first and most accessible level is that of daily cleansing. Your practice is the 16-hour intermittent fast. This involves consolidating your meals into an 8-hour window each day, e.g., between 12 p.m. and 8 p.m., and fasting for the remaining 16 hours. In this protocol, autophagy is activated gently and constantly. The 16 hours of digestive rest give your body a window for a superficial sweep to clear metabolic waste from the previous day. It is like sweeping the kitchen every night before going to sleep. It is not a deep cleaning, but it prevents the massive accumulation of trash. The second protocol, the deep clean, the 24-hour fast. For a deeper clean, to get into the basement and attic of your cells, the alchemist dedicates 1 day a week to the workshop. His practice is the 24-hour fast. Science is clear. Autophagy truly intensifies after 18 to 20 hours of fasting. At that point, the body has depleted its glycogen stores, insulin levels are very low, and the signal for deep cellular cleansing is emitted with full force. A 24-hour fast, performed once a week, e.g. dinner to dinner, is one of the most potent interventions you can do for your longevity. During this period, your cells enter an intensive recycling mode. Practitioners often describe an extraordinary mental clarity and a feeling of lightness the day after, the result of millions of cells freeing themselves from decades of toxic accumulation. The third protocol, complete renewal, the prolonged fast. Finally, for a complete system renewal, to demolish and rebuild entire sections of the building, the alchemist, with wisdom and often with professional guidance, undertakes a prolonged fast, 48 to 72 hours or more. Here is where the true magic of regeneration occurs. The death of zombie cells. In a prolonged fast, the body does not just recycle components. It begins to selectively destroy senescent cells, the so-called zombie cells, which are old cells that have stopped dividing but refuse to die, and which secrete inflammatory substances that accelerate aging. Fasting is the most effective way to eliminate these cells. Immune system reset. A 72-hour fast has been shown to have the capacity to completely reset the immune system, eliminating old and damaged immune cells and stimulating, upon refeeding, the production of stem cells that create a completely new, rejuvenated immune system, human growth hormone peak. At the end of a prolonged fast, the body produces a massive surge of human growth hormone, HGH, the youth hormone which protects muscle mass and stimulates the repair and regeneration of tissues. The alchemist's warnings. Like any powerful healing process, the activation of autophagy must be approached with respect and gradualness. Listen to your body. Fasting is not a competition. Wisdom lies in listening to your body's signals. Seek guidance. Fasts longer than 48 hours, especially if you have any pre-existing medical conditions, should be done under professional supervision. Not for everyone. People with a history of eating disorders, pregnant women, children, or those with very low body weight should avoid prolonged fasting. The secret of autophagy has been revealed to you. You are no longer a victim of deterioration and aging. You are the director of your own recycling workshop, the alchemist who, with the simple key of fasting, can instruct your body to be reborn from within. You have learned to clean house at the cellular level. Chapter 6. The Reset Button. The Power of Intermittent Fasting. To understand why intermittent fasting is so powerful, we must first understand that your body is a symphony of time. Every one of your trillions of cells is not just a factory, but also a clock. In the nucleus of every cell you possess clock genes that, like perfect biological software, tell that cell when to be active and when to rest, when to burn energy, and when to repair itself, when to divide and when to clean itself. At the center of your brain, you have a master clock, a small but immensely powerful region called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which acts as the conductor of this immense cellular orchestra. Its job is to ensure that all instruments, the liver, the pancreas, the stomach, the muscles, play in perfect synchrony. And this conductor synchronizes itself primarily with one external signal, the oldest of all, the light of the sun. For millions of years of human evolution, this system worked perfectly. We lived in a sacred dance with the planet's rhythms. Daylight activated our activity genes, hunting, gathering, movement. The darkness of night activated our repair genes, cleansing, regeneration, growth. Our eating pattern followed this rhythm. We ate during the day, when our digestive system was active and ready, and we fasted during the long night, a 12 to 16-hour period of digestive silence that allowed the body to enter its sacred cycle of cleansing and regeneration. But the modern era, in its technological brilliance, has declared total war against our ancestral biological clocks. Artificial light has erased the night. Night shifts have inverted the day. And above all, the constant availability of food, the refrigerator, 24-hour stores, delivery apps, has shattered our metabolic symphony. By eating from dawn until midnight, we are sending a chaotic, contradictory signal to our cells. The master clock in the brain, guided by the light, even the blue light of a screen, says it's daytime, it's time to be active. But by eating late at night, the peripheral clocks of our liver and pancreas receive the signal, it's time to work, to digest, to store. The orchestra is completely out of tune. The conductor sets a rhythm, and the musicians play another. The result is metabolic chaos, the root of the modern epidemic of obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and that chronic fatigue that afflicts so many. Intermittent fasting is not a diet in the modern sense of calorie restriction or deprivation. It is an act of resynchronization. It is the simplest, most potent and most natural way to realign all the clocks in your body, to restore the sacred rhythm for which you were designed. It is not a new invention. It is the remembrance of how we have lived for 99.9% of our history as a species. The 16-8 protocol. The wisdom of the window. There are many methods of intermittent fasting, but the most studied, most sustainable, and most effective for most people is the 16-8 protocol. Its simplicity is its genius. You fast for 16 hours every day. You eat during an 8-hour window. For example, you finish your dinner at 8 p.m. and do not eat again until 12 noon the next day. During those 16 hours of fasting, you only consume calorie-free liquids, water, herbal tea, black coffee. That's it. You have aligned your eating cycle with your light and darkness cycle. What happens in your body during this 16-hour window of digestive silence? A miracle of readjustment and rejuvenation. The descent of insulin, turning off the storage switch. Insulin is the key hormone that regulates energy storage. When we eat, especially carbohydrates, insulin rises to transport glucose to the cells, or if there is an excess, to store it as fat. When we eat constantly, our insulin levels are always elevated, and the body is permanently in fat storage mode. In a 16-hour fasting window, insulin drops to its lowest levels. This sends a clear, powerful signal to your body. Stop storing fat and start burning stored fat for fuel. You become a fat-burning machine. Hormonal optimization, the cascade of rejuvenation. The 16-hour fast optimizes your entire hormonal panel. It dramatically increases the secretion of human growth hormone, HGH, often called the fountain of youth hormone, which is crucial for tissue repair, muscle building, and anti-aging. It also increases norepinephrine, a neurotransmitter that sharpens your mental focus and gives you clean, sustained energy, the ignition of autophagy, the cellular cleaning service. As we have seen, autophagy, the process by which your cells eat their own damaged and old components, begins to activate significantly after 12 to 16 hours of fasting. The 16-8 protocol ensures a daily dose of this cellular cleansing and recycling service, reducing inflammation, preventing disease, and slowing the aging process. It is your body's Marie Kondo system, tidying and discarding what no longer serves. The brain's awakening, the high-octane fuel. During fasting, your brain learns to function not only on glucose, but also on ketones, a superfuel produced by burning fat. This metabolic state increases the production of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a protein that acts as a fertilizer for your neurons, promoting the growth of new brain cells and protecting existing ones. The result is mental clarity, improved memory, and a sharp focus that glucose cannot match. Intermittent fasting is the reset button that, every day, returns your biological machinery to its optimal operating state, the state for which it was designed by millennia of evolution. The first practice, the gradual transition, the river's path. Your body, accustomed to decades of constant eating, may protest at first if you attempt a drastic change. The key is not force but gradual adaptation. You don't try to jump to the other side of the river. You build a bridge step by step. Start with 12 hours. Do not jump directly to a 16-hour fast. Start with what is easy and sustainable. Simply establish a rule. Do not eat anything after dinner, e.g. 8 p.m., and do not eat again until 8 a.m. the next day. You are already doing a 12-hour fast, which is probably more than you were doing before. Do this for the first week. Accustom your body to a period of nighttime digestive silence. Extend the window gradually. In the second week, if you feel good, extend your fasting window by 1 more hour. Have breakfast at 9 a.m. instead of 8 a.m. The following week, at 10 a.m., allow your body to adapt. Allow your hunger hormones to readjust. It is not a race. Listen to your body. If you feel intense hunger one day, perhaps shorten the fast a little. Consistency is more important than perfection. Find your rhythm. In time, you will reach 16 hours, or perhaps you will discover that your ideal point is 14 or 15 hours. The goal is not to adhere to a magic number, but to find the rhythm that makes you feel the most energetic, clear, and vital. The second practice, navigating challenges, taming the old dragon. In the early stages, you will encounter 2 major challenges: habitual hunger and social pressure. Habitual hunger. The feeling of hunger you feel in the morning at first is not, in most cases, real hunger. It is your ghrelin hormone, the hunger hormone, which has become accustomed to being released at that time purely from memory. It is acting like a programmed clock. When you feel that surge, do not panic. Acknowledge it as an old habit. Drink a large glass of water, a hot herbal tea or black coffee without sugar. These drinks help suppress ghrelin. You will find that in 15 or 20 minutes the surge passes. In 1 or 2 weeks of consistency, your body will learn the new rhythm, and ghrelin will stop being activated in the morning. Social pressure. The biggest obstacle is often not physiological, but social. We live in a culture that venerates breakfast as the most important meal of the day. You will encounter resistance from family and friends. Skipping breakfast is bad for your health. You need to eat to have energy. Remember that these are beliefs based on decades of marketing, not ancestral science. Simply smile. You don't need to justify your choice or give a biology lesson. A simple, honest response like, "I've found that I feel much more energetic and clear when I eat a little later," is enough. The results will speak for themselves. The third practice, the art of breaking the fast, the first note of the day. How you break your fast is as important as the fast itself. Your first meal of the day sets the hormonal pattern for the hours that follow. Breaking it incorrectly can cancel out many of its benefits. Avoid the sugar tsunami, breaking the fast with a croissant, orange juice, a bowl of sugary cereal, or any refined carbohydrate is like putting out a purifying fire with a bucket of dirty water. Your body, after 16 hours, is extremely sensitive to insulin. A sugar load at this time will cause a massive insulin spike that will immediately turn off fat burning, leave you hungry and low on energy 2 hours later, and put you on a glucose roller coaster for the rest of the day. Prioritize the holy trinity of satiety. Your first meal should be a signal of dense nutrition and satiety for your body. Always start with the combination of protein, fat and fiber protein, eggs, chicken, fish, tofu, Greek yogurt, Healthy fats: avocado, olive oil, nuts, seeds, fiber, leafy greens, salads, broccoli, berries. This combination will keep your insulin levels stable, give you clean, sustained energy for hours, keep you satiated, and prolong many of the benefits of the fasting state. Chapter 7. The Fast That Fools Hunger, the Walter Longo FMD Revolution. What if I told you that a bridge exists? A path that allows you to cross into the territory of the profound healing of prolonged fasting, without having to traverse the desert of total food abstinence. What if you could activate the genetic switches of rejuvenation while still nourishing your body? We must explore one of the most important scientific revolutions of our time in the field of longevity and health. We must decipher the secret of the fast that fools hunger. Our story begins not in an ancient temple, but in the cutting-edge laboratories of the University of Southern California. There, an Italian biochemist and gerontologist, Dr. Walter Longo, has dedicated his life to one of humanity's oldest questions. How can we live longer and, above all, better? Can we extend our health span, not just our chronological life? His search led him beyond the lab to study the most long-lived and healthy populations on the planet, the centenarians of the blue zones. Longo observed a fascinating pattern in their diets. They did not eat little all the time. Their eating was characterized by cycles, periods of modest, mostly plant-based eating, interrupted by periods of even greater caloric restriction, often dictated by seasons, winter scarcity, or religious traditions like Lent. Intrigued, Longo returned to the lab with a revolutionary question. Is it possible to create a dietary protocol that fools the body's cells, making them believe they are in a water-only fast, thereby activating their regeneration programs, while still receiving essential nutrients to minimize the difficulties, risks, and loss of muscle mass? The answer, after decades of meticulous research, would be the creation of the fasting mimicking diet, FMD. The science behind the deception: it's not calories, it signals. Longo and his team discovered a fundamental secret of our cellular biology. Our cells do not have eyes to count calories. They have molecular sensors, genetic pathways that detect the presence or absence of specific nutrients. It is these sensors that tell the body whether it is in a state of abundance, growth and storage mode, or scarcity, repair, cleansing, and regeneration mode. The two most important sensors they discovered were glucose and insulin sensor, detects the presence of sugars and carbohydrates. Its activation tells the body, energy is available, use it and store the rest. Protein sensor, mTOR, detects the presence of proteins, especially certain amino acids. This pathway, called mTOR, is the main growth mode switch in the body. When it is active, it tells cells to multiply. This is essential in childhood, but in an adult, constant activation of the mTOR pathway is directly related to aging and the growth of cancerous cells. Longo realized that if he could design a diet that kept these two sensors off, he could fool the body. He could make it believe it was in a complete fast, thereby activating all regeneration mechanisms like autophagy, but providing enough calories and micronutrients to make the process safe, tolerable, and free of the extreme hunger and muscle mass loss associated with a water-only fast. The formula: a 5-day diet low in calories, but above all, very low in protein and carbohydrates, and high in healthy plant-based fats. The miracles of the Reboot. Clinical results. The results of the clinical studies conducted by Longo and his team on humans are so extraordinary that they are now being published in the world's most prestigious scientific journals. Immune system regeneration. The most revolutionary discovery was the effect on the immune system. During the 5 days of the protocol, the body selectively destroys old, damaged, and dysfunctional immune cells. But when normal eating is resumed on day 6, a massive production of hematopoietic stem cells is activated, which regenerate a completely new, younger, and more efficient immune system. It's as if the body has a reset button for its defenses. Reduction of aging and disease markers. Participants in the studies showed significant reductions in inflammation markers, dangerous abdominal visceral fat, blood pressure, and risk factors for cardiovascular disease and diabetes, all without losing significant muscle mass. Support in cancer therapies. Studies revealed that the FMD seemed to protect healthy cells from the toxic effects of chemotherapy. while at the same time making cancer cells, which are addicted to glucose and growth, more vulnerable to the treatment. The 5-day protocol in detailed practice. The FMD technique requires preparation and precision. It is not a simple low-calorie diet. It is a nutritional protocol designed to send specific molecular signals to your cells. It is ideally performed once a month for 3 consecutive months for a complete reboot, and then once or twice a year for maintenance. The preparation, 3 days before. Do not jump into the protocol from a diet of processed foods. Prepare your body. 3 days before starting, gradually eliminate animal proteins, sugars, alcohol, and processed foods. Increase your consumption of vegetables, salads, and healthy fats. You are informing your body that a change is approaching. Day 1, the transition, approx 100 calories. This is the entry day. Caloric intake is approximately 100 calories. The macronutrient distribution is crucial. About 56% healthy fats, 34% complex carbohydrates, and only 10% plant protein. Example, a breakfast of green tea and a small handful of nuts. A lunch of a substantial vegetable soup with a large salad, dressed generously with olive oil. A dinner similar to lunch, perhaps with the addition of half an avocado. Days 2 to 5. The cellular deception, approx 800 calories. Here, the real work begins. Intake is reduced to approximately 800 calories per day, and the ratio shifts, about 47% fat, 43% carbohydrates, and only 9% protein. The crucial part is keeping proteins very low, less than 18-20 grams per day, and carbohydrates controlled and plant-based. Example. During these days, the diet is based on clear vegetable broths, small portions of healthy fats like olives or avocado for satiety, unsweetened herbal teas and specific low-carb, low-protein vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, and other leafy greens, steamed or in small salads. The experience, day 2, can be the hardest as the body depletes its glycogen stores. You may feel some mental fog or headaches. From day 3 or 4, most people experience a shift. The body enters ketosis, hunger decreases drastically, and a surprising mental clarity and energy appear. Day 6, refeeding, the regeneration phase. This phase is as important as the fast itself. This is where the magic of stem cell regeneration occurs. You cannot abruptly return to your normal diet. The transition must be gradual to avoid overwhelming the system and to maximize the benefits. First 12 hours, start with liquids, broths, very light vegetable soups. Next 12 hours, gradually introduce steamed vegetables, small portions of fruit. Day 7, slowly reintroduce proteins and more complex fats, paying attention to your body's signals. Avoid processed foods, sugar, and alcohol for several days. Practical advice from the engineer: hydration and electrolytes. Drink plenty of water during the 5 days. Adding a pinch of good quality sea salt to your water can help replenish electrolytes and prevent headaches. Managing hunger. Herbal tea, mint, chamomile, and black coffee can be your allies. Hunger, as in intermittent fasting, often comes in waves that pass in 15 to 20 minutes if you navigate them with a warm liquid. Choose your time. Plan your 5 days in a week of low social and work stress if possible. Do not do it during a period of travel or high pressure. The mindset. Do not see it as deprivation. Frame it as a spa retreat for your cells, a profound act of self-healing and self-love. Warnings from the engineer. Safety first. FMD is a powerful intervention and is not appropriate for everyone. This information is educational and does not replace medical advice. Do not do this if you are underweight, a BMI below 18.5, have type 1 diabetes, a history of eating disorders, anorexia, bulimia, or are over 70 without medical supervision. Do not do this if you are pregnant or breastfeeding. The body needs to be in growth mode during these stages. Consult your doctor if you take medication for blood pressure or diabetes, or if you have any chronic illness. Fasting can potentiate the effect of these drugs and requires dosage adjustment under strict medical supervision. Chapter 8. The Silence That Deflames, the Clinical Protocols of Buchinger. In 1918, Dr. Otto Buchinger was a decorated naval doctor in the German Imperial Army. A man of science, a product of the mechanistic medicine of his time, until science, as he knew it, failed him in the most brutal way. Aggressive and rampant rheumatoid arthritis took over his body. His joints became inflamed into knots of agony. The fire of pain was so intense and constant that he was forced to abandon his naval career. Confined to a wheelchair in the prime of his life, the best doctors in Germany offered him the only remedies they knew, increasingly large doses of painkillers that barely mitigated the pain while destroying his stomach, and a diagnosis that was a life sentence, permanent disability. Desperate, on the verge of a physical and spiritual abyss, Buchinger remembered the teachings of the ancients, the wisdom of Hippocrates, the father of medicine, who had declared, "Let food be thy medicine." He recalled the ancient texts that spoke of fasting not as a deprivation, but as the highest form of purification and healing. He made a decision that his colleagues considered an act of madness, a slow suicide, to undertake a prolonged water-only fast, under the supervision of an open-minded colleague, Dr. Gustav Riedlin. What happened in the next 19 days would not only save his life, but would change the course of integrative medicine forever. The first days were hell. As his body began to detoxify, the pain intensified. Doubt assailed him. But Buchinger persisted, clinging to ancient wisdom like a castaway to a plank. And then, around the 4th or 5th day, something began to change. A dawn in the middle of the night. The swelling in his hands, which looked like arthritic claws, began to subside. The burning fire in his joints began to diminish, turning into a bearable warmth. Day after day, the miracle unfolded. The inflammation that had ravaged his body for years, which had resisted all medication, was simply vanishing in the nutritional silence. At the end of the 19 days, Otto Buchinger, the man who had been declared a lifelong invalid, rose from his chair and with tears in his eyes walked. The pain was gone. Mobility had returned. He had witnessed a healing power that did not come from any potion or pill, but from the silent interior of his own body. Buchinger's philosophy, awakening the inner physician. This experience transformed Buchinger from a doctor into a mystic, from a technician into a visionary. He dedicated the rest of his long and healthy life to understanding, systematizing, and sharing what he had experienced. His conclusion was as simple as it was revolutionary. The human body possesses an inner physician, an innate healing intelligence of immense wisdom, capable of regenerating and restoring balance in a way that no external force can match. Disease, Buchinger realized, is not an external attack or a simple mechanical failure. It is often the result of a body that has been overloaded, intoxicated, and disconnected from its own wisdom by our modern lifestyle. Fasting in Buchinger's philosophy is not a cure applied from the outside. It is the act of getting out of the way. It is creating a physiological silence, a void so that the inner physician can, at last, have the space and energy, freed from the endless task of digestion, to do its work. Buchinger identified, decades before conventional medicine accepted it, that the main obstacle to this inner physician in the modern world is chronic inflammation. He realized that this silent fire is the root cause of almost all the major diseases of our time. Our modern diet, rich in sugars, refined flours, and processed vegetable oils, is like pouring gasoline on this fire. And fasting, he concluded, is the most potent, natural, and universal fire extinguisher that exists. Based on this philosophy, he founded his first clinic in Germany in 1920. Buchinger Wilhelmi clinics have become a beacon of integrative medicine, demonstrating with tens of thousands of documented cases and modern clinical studies that the body, when given the opportunity through silence, has a capacity for self-healing and regeneration that purely pharmacological medicine can barely imagine. The Buchinger Protocol, the science of therapeutic fasting. The Buchinger Protocol is not a simple, wild water fast. It is a holistic medical program, carefully designed over a century of clinical experience to guide the body through a process of deep healing in the safest, most comfortable, and most effective way possible. It is the art and science of therapeutic fasting. The first phase, preparation, decompression. A prolonged fast does not begin the day you stop eating. That is a recipe for suffering and abandonment. It begins with preparation. The Buchinger Protocol includes 1 to 3 days of a transition diet. The goal, to gradually reduce the load on the digestive system and prepare the body and mind for metabolic change. It's like a plane lowering its altitude and speed before landing. The practice. During these days, stimulants, coffee, black tea, alcohol, processed foods, sugars, refined salt, and animal proteins are completely eliminated. The diet consists of light, whole, and plant-based foods with a reduced caloric intake, often around 600–800 calories per day. This period of light eating minimizes initial detox symptoms, such as headaches or fatigue, and makes the transition to fasting much smoother. The second phase, the modified fast, nutritional silence. This is the central phase of the protocol, which in a clinical setting can last from 7 to 21 days, or even longer. It is not a zero-calorie fast. It is a modified fast that provides a small amount of nutrients to support the body's detoxification processes and maintain electrolyte balance. Daily intake is approximately 200 to 250 calories, coming from very specific sources. The daily intake. Herbal teas, often with a small spoonful of honey, are taken in the morning. At noon, a bowl of freshly made filtered vegetable broth provides essential minerals and electrolytes. In the evening, a small glass of diluted, freshly squeezed fruit or vegetable juice, or a second bowl of broth. The genius, this minimal caloric intake, is the genius of the method. It is low enough to keep the body in a deep state of autophagy and ketosis, obtaining all the regenerative benefits, but at the same time, it provides the necessary micronutrients for the elimination organs, the liver, the kidneys, to function optimally, avoiding the risks of unsupervised, strict water fasting. The psychological aspect of receiving something warm and tasty each day also makes the fast infinitely more sustainable. The third phase, the art of breaking the fast, conscious reconstruction. Buchinger taught that any fool can fast, but only a wise man knows how to break the fast. This is the most crucial and potentially dangerous phase if done incorrectly. The digestive system has been at complete rest. Reactivating it abruptly with a normal meal can cause severe shock to the system. Refeeding is a process as long and carefully orchestrated as the fast itself. The first day, the apple. The fast is traditionally broken with a fresh, ripe apple, but it is not eaten carelessly. It is a ritual. It is eaten very slowly, in a state of full awareness, chewing each bite until it is liquid. This simple conscious act gently reactivates the production of digestive enzymes. The following days, the diet progresses very slowly. On the second day, thicker vegetable or potato soups and probiotic yogurts can be introduced to repopulate the gut flora. By the third day, steamed vegetables and more fruits. The goal is to re-educate the body and mind, establishing a new relationship with food based on nutrition and awareness, not on habit or emotion. The master's warnings, safety above. Or Buchinger was inflexible on one point. Prolonged fasting is a powerful medical intervention and must be supervised by a qualified professional. It is not a game. It is not a fad diet. It is surgery without a scalpel. Absolute contraindications: people with eating disorders, type 1 diabetes, severe heart, liver, or kidney failure, or significant low weight, BMI below 18. Should not attempt these protocols. Essential medical precaution: if you take medication, especially for blood pressure, diabetes, or heart conditions, fasting can dramatically potentiate their effects, which can be dangerous. It requires constant dosage adjustment by a fasting experienced doctor. The legacy of the Buchinger clinics is a living testament to a truth that modern medicine is painfully beginning to rediscover. That chronic inflammation is the mother of disease, and that nutritional silence, practiced with wisdom and respect, is the father of healing. The silence that deflames remains one of the most powerful and best-kept secrets of integrative medicine. Chapter 9. The Pulse of the Light Heart, the Cardiovascular Fast. Cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death in the Western world. Hypertension, atherosclerosis, hardening of the arteries, heart attacks. It is a silent epidemic, and we have been taught to view these conditions as an almost inevitable consequence of aging, a sentence dictated by genetics and the inexorable wear and tear of time. But what if I told you that for the vast majority, it is not a sentence, but a choice? A choice made, not consciously, but through a lifestyle that keeps our heart and arteries in a state of constant siege, a state of low-grade war. The modern diet, with its excess of sugars, refined salts, and processed industrial fats, creates a state of chronic inflammation, a silent fire that day after day, year after year, damages the delicate and sensitive lining of our arteries, the endothelium, and our body, in its desperate attempt to put out the fire and repair this damage, creates patches of cholesterol, calcium, and scar tissue. Over time, these patches harden, accumulate, and become the atheroma plaques that obstruct the flow of life, setting the stage for catastrophe. But in the quiet mountains of Northern California, at a health sanctuary called True North Health Center, Dr. Alan Goldhammer and his team have been challenging this narrative of inevitability for more than 3 decades. And they have done so not with a new miracle drug, but with the simplest, oldest, and most potent healing tool that exists, medically supervised water-only fasting, the science of the light heart, autophagy and arterial cleansing. The science behind this astonishing transformation is as elegant as it is revolutionary. When the body enters a prolonged water-only fast, after several days, it activates a process that scientists call cardiovascular autophagy. It is the same principle of cellular recycling that Nobel laureate Yoshinori Ohsumi discovered, but applied specifically to the cardiovascular system. The cells in your arteries and heart muscle, obeying this ancient wisdom, begin to literally devour their own damaged components. They eat misfolded proteins, dysfunctional mitochondria, calcium deposits, and crucially, the components of the atherosclerotic plaques that have been obstructing the flow of life for years. Prolonged fasting is not simply a diet. It is a direct and sovereign command to your body to initiate its own arterial cleansing procedure, an intelligent, non-invasive surgery that only eliminates what is surplus and repairs what is damaged. In addition to autophagy, 2 other key transformations occur: blood pressure, normalization. Fasting is the most potent and rapid tool that exists for normalizing blood pressure. By fasting, the body quickly eliminates excess sodium, which relaxes the blood vessel walls and reduces fluid volume. Furthermore, insulin sensitivity is dramatically restored, which reduces inflammation and improves the function of the endothelium, allowing the arteries to become more flexible and responsive. Heart rest. The process of digestion is incredibly demanding. It requires an immense amount of blood flow to be diverted to the digestive system. By fasting, your heart, for the first time in years, perhaps decades, gets a vacation. Its workload is drastically reduced, allowing it to rest, shrink if it was enlarged, and repair itself. The medical records from True North document cases that seem straight out of science fiction. Patients with blood pressures of 180-120 reaching a perfect 120-80 in just 2 weeks without medication. Arteries that were dangerously obstructed and, after a fast, show normal blood flow on an angiography. Enlarged and inefficient hearts regaining their youthful size and rhythm. The difference with the miracles of antiquity is that here every transformation is documented with electrocardiograms and blood tests that do not lie. The inner physician needs no faith. It only needs silence. Protocols for a light heart. The evidence is clear. Prolonged water-only fasting is the most potent non-invasive surgery for the cardiovascular system. However, it is crucial to understand that these protocols are profound medical interventions that must always be performed under professional supervision in specialized centers. Nevertheless, the wisdom of these protocols can be adapted to our daily lives in safe and potent ways. You don't need to perform surgery to keep your house clean. You need a daily hygiene routine and a deep clean weekly. The same applies to your heart. Below are the practical and safe protocols you can adapt to your life to begin reaping the cardiovascular benefits, prevent disease, and, in many cases, initiate a reversal process. The first practice, the cardiovascular intermittent fast, 18.6 protocol. If prolonged fasting is surgery, daily intermittent fasting is cardiovascular hygiene. It is the most potent practice for the prevention and maintenance of a healthy heart and flexible arteries. While the 16-8 protocol is an excellent starting point, for specific cardiovascular benefits, extending the fasting window to 18 hours seems to be the sweet spot. The practice. You fast for 18 hours and concentrate all your eating into a 6-hour window. For example, You finish dinner at 7 p.m. and do not eat again until 1 p.m. the next day. Why 18 hours? Those 2 extra hours beyond 16 significantly deepen the state of ketosis, and more importantly, maximize the autophagy window every day. They give your cardiovascular system a wider, more effective window for rest, blood pressure reduction, and repair. The second practice, the weekly reset, the 24 to 36-hour fast. For a deeper cardiovascular cleanse, you can incorporate a 24 to 36-hour fast, once a week or every 2 weeks, provided your health condition allows it and preferably with your doctor's approval. The 24-hour practice. The simplest way is a dinner-to-dinner fast. You finish dinner on day 1 at 7 p.m. Spend day 2 with only water, teas, or black coffee, and do not eat again until dinner on day 2 at the same time. You have completed a 24-hour fast, the 36-hour practice. For an even deeper reset, you have dinner on day 1, you fast all of day 2, and you break the fast with breakfast on day 3. The effect: during this period, your blood pressure will naturally drop, your heart will massively reduce its workload, your glycogen stores will be completely emptied, and the mechanisms of autophagy will be activated with an intensity that daily intermittent fasting cannot achieve. It is a profound reset for your entire system. The third practice, the nutrition of the light heart. Fasting is only half the equation. What you eat in your feeding window is the other half. You cannot fast for 18 hours and then load your body with inflammatory foods for 6 hours and expect miraculous results. Your feeding window is your opportunity to nourish and protect your heart. Prioritize cardioprotective foods, healthy fats, extra virgin olive oil, avocados, nuts, chia, and flax seeds, rich in omega-3, leafy green vegetables, spinach, arugula, kale. They are rich in nitrates, which your body converts into nitric oxide, a potent vasodilator that relaxes your arteries, berries and red fruits, blueberries, strawberries, raspberries. They are full of antioxidants that protect the endothelium from oxidative damage. Fatty fish, wild salmon, sardines, anchovies, for their high omega-3 content, the heart's warnings, the wisdom of caution. Fasting is the most powerful medicine, and like all powerful medicine, it must be respected and used with wisdom. In the cardiovascular domain, precautions are not optional. They are vital. Imperative medical supervision. If you have a pre-existing cardiovascular condition, hypertension, atherosclerosis, history of heart attacks, etc., it is imperative that you consult with a fasting-experienced doctor before initiating any protocol, even intermittent fasting. Medication adjustment. This point cannot be overstated. If you are taking antihypertensive, diabetes, or anticoagulant medications, fasting can drastically potentiate their effects. Attempting a fast without your doctor's guidance is extremely dangerous and can lead to severe hypotension, a dangerous drop in blood pressure, hypoglycemia, or other serious complications. Medication adjustment must be professionally supervised. Absolute contraindications: individuals with severe arrhythmias, advanced heart failure, or who have recently had a heart attack should avoid prolonged fasts. A fragile heart needs to be strengthened gradually, not subjected to the intense stress of a prolonged fast without extreme clinical supervision. The pulse of a light heart is no longer a poetic myth. It is a tangible biological possibility. The silent revolution of centers like True North is proving to us that the heart is not an organ condemned to deterioration, but a muscle with a miraculous capacity for regeneration that we are only beginning to comprehend. You have the tools in your hands to put out the fire of inflammation and restore your heart to the lightness and rhythm of its original design. Chapter 10. The water that cleanses the shadow. The Aquatic Purification Rites. Throughout history, in every corner of the planet, from scorching deserts to misty coasts, ancient cultures, with no apparent contact with each other, reach the same profound conclusion, that the power of fasting, that silence that awakens the inner physician, is magnified exponentially when combined with the sacred rites of water. It is not a coincidence. It is the rediscovery over and over again of a universal law of purification, a truth engraved in the memory of our cells. Today we travel through time to rediscover that law. Today we learn to cleanse the shadow with water, the wisdom of antiquity, The universal pattern. Our journey begins in the cradle of civilization, in the fertile lands between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. The Sumerians practiced what their cuneiform tablets describe as the bath of the empty soul. During periods of fasting dictated by lunar cycles, initiates would daily immerse themselves in the sacred waters of the Euphrates at dawn. It was not a bath to clean the dust from the body, but a ritual to purify the essence of the soul. They believed that water, combined with the empty stomach, had the power to wash away energetic shadows, negative spiritual influences, and the fevers of the spirit that cause disease. We now travel to Egypt, to the banks of the Nile. The priests of the healing temples prescribed fasts of 3 to 7 days to the sick, and during this time, patients not only rested, but repeatedly immersed themselves in the Nile's waters, which had been enriched in sacred pools with natron, a specific mineral salt. The medical papyri describe with astonishing detail how during these rituals the ka, the vital force or etheric double of the body, was completely purified. They believed that disease was an impurity in the ka, and that the combination of the fast's void and the cleansing power of the saline water was the only way to restore its luminosity. We cross the Mediterranean to Greece, to the serene temples of Asclepius. The patients, whom they called therapeuta, began their healing with a period of purification that included fasting. Then they bathed in the sacred thermal waters that flowed from the earth. After this bath, clean and empty, they would sleep in the sanctuary in a ritual called incubation, hoping to receive healing or guidance in their dreams. The medical records carved into stone document cure rates that even today seem miraculous. The Greeks understood that fasting and water were not the cure, but the preparation for divine healing to occur. Now we cross the vast Atlantic to the lands of North America. The native peoples of the plains, the Lakota, developed one of the most powerful forms of purification, the sweat lodge or inipi ceremony. In the dark symbolic womb of a sweat lodge, participants, often after a period of fasting, poured water over red-hot stones, the grandmothers, creating an intense, purifying steam. Their oral traditions describe how, during these rituals, physical ailments, spiritual impurities, and emotional traumas exit through the pores like black smoke that the sacred water carries away. We journey to the other side of the world, to the rugged mountains of Japan, the home of the Shugendo ascetic monks. In their search for extraordinary spiritual power, they created the rigorous rituals of misogi. These often involved fasts combined with repeated immersions in icy waterfalls, even in the dead of winter. The goal was not simple cleansing, but to achieve a state of crystalline purity, a diamond body. They believed that the shock of the icy water, combined with the void of the fast, instantly burned away karmic and mental impurities. Finally, we return to Europe, to the misty, green lands of the Celts. The Druids, nature priests, practiced rituals in sacred lakes and springs during fasts. They taught a profound truth, that water possesses a memory. They believed that water remembers the vibration of the earth it flows through and all the healings it has witnessed. And they taught that during the fast's void, the human body becomes incredibly receptive, porous, able to absorb this healing memory directly through the skin, drinking the wisdom of the earth not through the mouth, but through the whole being. The universal pattern and scientific rediscovery Sumerians, Egyptians, Greeks, Native Americans, Japanese, Celts, cultures separated by thousands of miles and millennia, and yet all discovered independently the same universal principles. Was this a simple cultural coincidence? Or did all these cultures, through direct observation and deep intuition, discover a biological law that modern science is only beginning to rediscover? The answer is clear. The ancients were the observers, and modern science is at last explaining the mechanism, the skin as a third kidney. The skin, our largest organ, becomes a third kidney during fasting. When the digestive system rests, the body redirects its detoxification pathways. The skin, with its millions of pores, works at full capacity to expel metabolic waste and toxins through sweat. The water, then, not only cleans the surface, it helps draw these toxins out of the body. The wisdom of cold and heat. Science confirms the wisdom of both heat and cold. Cold shock, the warrior's awakening. Combining fasting with cold immersion, like icy waterfalls, activates a cascade of immense physiological responses. The thermal shock stimulates the sympathetic nervous system, causing a massive release of norepinephrine, a neurotransmitter that drastically increases focus, energy, and mood, and has a potent anti-inflammatory effect. Heat stress, heavy metal cleansing. The use of a sauna, like the sweat lodge, is one of the most effective ways to eliminate heavy metals and other fat-soluble toxins from the body. Thermal stress activates the production of heat shock proteins, which act as molecular chaperones, helping to repair damaged proteins in our cells, a process similar and complementary to autophagy. The healing power of salt. Science also validates the practices of the Egyptian priests. A bath with Epsom salts, magnesium sulfate during a fast works by osmosis. The high mineral concentration in the water helps draw out toxins and excess fluid through the skin. At the same time, the body absorbs magnesium, a mineral crucial for nerve and muscle relaxation, which is often depleted during the stress of detoxification. Protocols for the cleansing of the shadow. To stimulate your system in the morning and activate fat burning, the tool is cold. During your intermittent fasting days or any day, finish your morning shower with the Warrior's Awakening. After your normal warm shower, turn the tap to maximum cold. Your only job is to control your breathing. Breathe slowly and deeply, exhaling long and slow. Try to hold out for 30 seconds at first. This act will not only wake you up more than any coffee, but it will also activate your metabolism, reduce inflammation, and strengthen your immune system and willpower. For deeper purification, the tool is heat. Once or twice a week, combine your fast with the rite of surrender in a sauna. Enter the sauna for 15 to 20 minutes. Imagine that with every drop of sweat, you are releasing not only physical toxins but also stress, worries, and old energies. After the sauna, always take a cold shower. This contrast creates a powerful pumping effect in your vascular and lymphatic system, further enhancing circulation and cleansing. For relaxation and mineral detoxification, the tool is salt. On the night of a longer fast, or simply when you feel exhausted, your ritual is the alchemist's balm. Fill your bathtub with hot water. Add 2 to 3 cups of Epsom salts. Submerge yourself for at least 20 minutes. Feel how the tension in your muscles dissolves. Feel how the saline water gently extracts the impurities from your body. It is a restorative therapy. Remember, these practices are potent. You must listen to your body and always respect its limits. Your safety is the priority. Wisdom does not reside in extreme feats, but in the careful listening of your own inner physician. The water that cleanses the shadow has been revealed to you. You have learned to combine the power of the inner void, created by fasting, with the purifying power of life's most essential element. You have learned that your skin is not a barrier but a portal. You have discovered that in the union of silence and water lies one of the oldest and most potent keys to the regeneration of your body and the purification of your soul. We have reached the end of our journey. Together, we have followed the footsteps of a forbidden medicine that should never have been concealed, to our truth that unites the mystic with the scientist and the prophet with the cellular biologist. We rediscovered Hippocrates' vow of the void and ignited the alchemical fire of Ayurveda. We learned to ride the dragon's breath with Taoism and understood the fast of the spirit of the great prophets. Then, modern science revealed the machinery behind the miracles. We entered the recycling workshop of autophagy, pressed the reset button of intermittent fasting, and discovered the ingenious fast that fools hunger. Finally, we explored the clinical protocols that ignite the silence that deflames, restore the pulse of the light heart, and use the water that cleanses the shadow for total purification. The synthesis that emerges from this journey transcends any particular tradition. Fasting is not deprivation but liberation. It is not punishment but purification. It is not a denial of life, but the affirmation of life in its fullest, most regenerative form. The true fast does not create a dark, hungry void. It reveals the luminous void that was always there, obscured by the constant noise of digestion. It is in this physiological silence that your body's innate intelligence, your inner physician, has the space to work its miracles. This knowledge is no longer forbidden. It now lives in you. Your journey of learning has ended. Your life as a practitioner of conscious healing begins now. Always remember the wisdom you have received. Your body possesses a capacity for healing that goes beyond what you have been taught. Trust it, give it the space of silence, and watch how it is reborn. The seal of the luminous void has been stamped upon your consciousness. Now you are its guardian. If this journey through forbidden medicine has resonated with you and awakened the healer within you, we invite you to continue this exploration. Subscribe to our channel, Path of Knowledge, for more wisdom that heals and empowers. Like this video if you commit to honoring your body's wisdom. Share this knowledge with someone who needs to remember their own power to heal. Thank you for your time, for your openness, and for the brave decision to explore the transformative power of the sacred void.